Hello everyone, I'm Pippin, the creator of Spirit Box Radio. Welcome to this little Q&A episode. Before I crack on, I just want to say that the first episode of Season 2 Part 2 will be airing on the 12th of May, which is a week earlier than initially thought. The stars have aligned right, hooray! The Midseason premiere, episode 20, which is called Bedside, will be available on Thursday next week at the usual time of 3 p.m. UK time, and will be available for supporters on Patreon on Wednesday at the same time. Alright then, let's do some questions. The first question is from Cal. Hey Cal. Cal wants to know, Bestie Pippin, I need to know how long you, as the writer, knew that Sam could talk to and understand the cats. Has Sam been able to understand them since the beginning and just didn't realise? Well, okay, so it grows and develops as the show goes on. It's one of those things, a little bit of fuckery, you know, but there we are. It started out from a sort of like, well, I talk to my cats and act like they're talking back, don't I? So what if Sam does that, but then he kind of does know what they're saying, and it really is a conversation, but it's all like, meow, yes, excellent point. The next question is another Cal question. Are there any references that you've made in Spirit Box Radio that the listeners haven't picked up on? Not that I can think of off the top of my head. Part 1 of Season 2 was certainly lighter on the references, but it's there to make space for a big one in Part 2. I felt like it's got to even out. Oh, wait, no. There was a big one. That episode where Sam is answering a bunch of letters and avoiding talking about Revel's position. I don't know why I'm being coy. If you're listening to the Q&A and you're not caught up, I'm sorry. But yeah, when Sam is avoiding Revel being a major arcana by trying to make the show what it was in Season 1, almost, you know? There's this letter, the first one, and it's just a plot of Notting Hill, you know, the rom-com movie, but with magic in it. And that's why I do the worst bloody... What's his face? Oh no. What's his name? Floppy British hair man. Oh god. Harold. Not Harold. Why am I thinking Harold? Hugh Grant. Hugh, Harold, posh English man name. Same difference. Anyway, yeah, that one I thought was really obvious, but nobody picked up on it. The terrible impression clearly through a lot of people. I can't think of any more off the top of my head. Honestly, I throw so many references into this thing. Oh boy. Great question. Thank you. Okay, next. This one is from Tal. Hey Tal, how's your day going? This isn't just for me, but I'm the only one here right now. I'll pass it on to the others too. What is your favourite episode/scene of Season 2 Part 1? Why? What's my fave? I don't know. I enjoyed killing Kitty, but only after it was done. I was very nervous about doing it. I'd played with the idea of maybe leaving her dead for the whole mid-season break, but she'd have been so dead by then, you know. That's enough time for a body to start to stink the place up. She'd have had to have been got rid of. It wouldn't have been ideal. I liked that part a lot. I really enjoyed the very early scene with Sam and Oliver where Ollie shows up and Sam has to send him to wait outside whilst he finishes the episode, and there's the I can hear you bit. That's cute. I like that scene a bunch. Sound design wise, I am probably most pleased with the super trippy bit with the horse and the voice that's like, take him on the wind. That part was built up primarily from a sound design perspective, and that and the big chanting bit at the end of the mid-season finale, they're both scenes which really grew out of ideas about what they'd sound like, and I'm really pleased with how both of those parts turned out. Okay, the next question is from Star, and they want to know if Oliver and Sam will stay together. They also say they love the show and we're all doing amazing work. Well, thanks, Star. I'm so glad you like the show. This is a complicated question. So I will say that Oliver and Sam are endgame, and I'll avoid going into further details. Our next question is from Avi, or Avi. He's asking about Rytidia. Avi says, is Rytidia Jewish? She says oi, which is a Yiddish expression of exacerbation, as well as a way one can hint that they're part of the ethno-religion. Also, her listening to the mud easily reminds me of golems as they're made of clay. I've never seen such much representation of Jewish mysticism, so this would be really exciting representation. Thanks. I write Rytidia and the whole show. This is super interesting as a question. So it wasn't until a couple of years ago that I realised that Oi was a Jewish thing. My family is mostly Jewish on one side, non-practising for a few generations back, and that whole side of my family says Oi just as a natural part of speech. There are very few Jewish things left in our branch of the family, so it was really cool to learn that Oi was a sneaky bit of heritage that's just kind of snuck in there. It's not something I deliberately included in Rytidia, except that in my mind it's a thing that my relatives say, and as Rytidia is an unofficial member of the Enfield family, I think it just kind of naturally slipped in. But yeah, that's really cool, and not something I've done consciously, but it's interesting that I have done it. The next question is anonymous. This person asks... Oh, sorry, cat. Hi Pippin, you say so many lovely things about your cast and lavish so much well-deserved praise on them, and it's so sweet. But what about you? Now that you're at the halfway point of Spirit Box Radio, what are you proud of? Could be acting, writing, etc. Lavish some praise on yourself because you also deserve it. Smiley face. Thank you, Anon. That's very sweet of you to say. I'm not very good at talking about the things I make, which is inconvenient when you make things for a living. It's one of the reasons I publish under Hanging Sloth Studios rather than just my name, actually. I thought it would give me a bit of distance and make it easier to talk about the things I make. It didn't really make it any easier, and now a disproportionate amount of people seem to think there's a large team who work on the show. 3 people have sent me their CV asking if they could work for Hanging Sloth Studios. Isn't that wild? I think it gives the impression that there's more than one person working behind the scenes, but no, it's just me. Little old me. The cast are incredible, and of course they help out with stuff like live chats on the Discord, and when we did the fundraiser for season 2, a couple of them were really helpful in getting that off the ground, plus a couple of folks make TikToks, which really brought in a lot of listeners in the beginning, but everything else, it's just me, which is a bit bonkers really, isn't it? That was a lot of words answering the question, wasn't it? I'm proud of how far I've come as a sound designer. I barely knew what soundscaping was when I started, and now I think I'm actually getting okay at it. It feels a lot easier to do things which were challenging in the beginning, and now I find myself thinking in a very sound design oriented way when I write the show, which wasn't the case in the beginning. I think just recently I've gotten stronger as a writer too. Like, the stuff for part 2 of this season is some of the best writing I've ever done for anything, and it's nice to look over stuff, especially now I've got pretty much all of the cast's recordings for that next chunk of episodes. I keep thinking, wow, this is actually pretty good, which is nice because I've been having a real confidence wobble for months, really. Part 1 was very difficult to write. I'm not sure why, really, but I was worried about it. I also think I'm a better actor now because I find myself listening back to episodes and thinking, that was actually pretty good, more than I used to. I'm incredibly proud of the whole thing as a project, though. Like, Spirit Box Radio is now like a day of content long, which is just massive, and it has officially tipped the scale as the longest project I've ever written. And I won an award, Best Fiction Podcast 2021 at the People's Choice Podcast Awards, which is wild. And lots of lovely people listen to the show, and which just that in itself is something to be proud of, I think. I think for me, what has always been super important is that people listen to the show and come away feeling something about it. Like, they come away and have thoughts and engage with the story, and that's really important. I see that happening online a bit now, and it's wonderful. That's why I make stuff. I'm a storyteller most of all, and that's what I love doing. I'm so proud that people hear the show and think it's something worth discussing afterwards. So yeah. Alrighty folks, that's all we have time for today. I hope you enjoyed this Q&A, and I hope you enjoy next week's episode of the show. I'm really excited for you all to hear it. For now though, thanks for listening. Stay spooky.